I remember the days of putting together market research by calling hundreds of people. It was painful, it was time consuming, and it was expensive. In this video, I'm going to show you how AI can now simulate real customer personas and give you feedback that's 91% as accurate as real human data. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's a way to get insights that you need to make better product decisions. There's now research to show that for social sciences experiments, you can actually use AIs to simulate people taking the experiment. So if you had a social sciences experiment, so you were asking people, would they behave a certain way? Do they believe a certain thing? Why do they believe it? You'll typically get a panel of people, you'll check the demographics of those people, and then you'll ask them a question. Now, this obviously is very expensive. So researchers have to actually find the panel, they have to source the panel, you usually have to incent the people in some way, unless you're using college students, which will work for free because they're part of the sociology department or what have you. You have to source them, and then you have to have the right demographics in there. There was an interesting research which shows that you can instead have a bunch of AIs and teach each AI to be a certain kind of person. So you say, this AI, let's say we're going after middle-aged women, and you'll teach AIs to simulate the behaviors of these people. And then you can ask the same questions that you would ask of the real people of the AIs, and the resulting research, it has a 91% correlation to what a person would say. In other words, it is very, very similar to what actual people would say. Now, the interesting thing about that is not that you're going to replace actual research, because a 0.91 correlation is not the same as running a true experiment. But for the scientific entrepreneurship process, where we're trying to get directional information and then statistical information, this is really kind of cool, because instead of paying a whole bunch of money to test an ad or test a hypothesis or survey a whole bunch of people, you can now go and ask a fleet of AIs the same thing. And for a fraction of the cost of doing the more detailed market research, you can get a really high confidence that this will work with people. Now, of course, you're going to want to roll it out and do proper testing after that. But this is yet another tool in the toolbox to say, okay, I'm going to be able to test something for a very small amount of money and a very short amount of time without all the weight associated with getting a panel of people together and making sure that that panel is representative, because you're telling the AIs who they're behaving like. So you can test, okay, well, does this message or does this question resonate with this kind of person, and get really, really quick and really good directional data since it's so highly correlated. Remember that you're asking that person, but it's variants of that person. So let's say that I'm looking for a conservative middle-aged woman, but you build different profiles, because you can teach these AIs to say, behave like a middle-aged conservative person in Ohio who lives in a apartment building and has 3 cats. And now do a different middle-aged single person. And the first one had no kids. And then now there's the second one. The second one has had 2 grown children out of the house living in the suburbs of Atlanta. And now each one of those is going to be a different person in the real world. And the AIs are smart enough now to understand that when I'm pretending to be this person, the knowledge that they have, the baseline knowledge that they have, is this is how this person speaks. This is how they express themselves, and therefore it's reflected in the answers that they give. So it's not just 1,000 of the same kind of person. You create different personas that are slight variants of that, but all within your ICP, right? Your ideal client profile is mirrored in this, but any company's ideal client profile isn't just one static person. That might be a representation, an agglomeration of it, but ultimately it's a circle, which encapsulates a lot of different kinds of people. So we're telling the AI to simulate that. And what you can also do is say, where will this message not resonate? So I can try a different thing. So now I'll try not middle-aged women, but I'll try, ages 25 to 35. What might their reaction be when they see this messaging? Will it also resonate so I can extend my footprint of what I'm offering to that demographic and then tweak the messaging there? Or are they're completely turned off by it? And in that way, you can rapidly test instead of just doing shotgun testing and attempting to just do it online, which works very well. And I've done that for years. That's been the traditional way of doing it. But this is really kind of interesting. It's also interesting for B2B testing. We've just talked about a B2C, this consumer testing of a consumer product, middle-aged women with this psychographic, with this demographic. Now, what if you wanted to test B2B buyers? Now, that's really painful, because now I have to go and figure out, okay, well, am I going to make phone calls to, as I've done it in the past, 100 different buyers of this kind of product in an enterprise? That's a long process. It is a very useful process, but it's a long, very extensive process. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of effort, and really specifically crafting those questions, because you can't burn one of those relationships that could be your customer. If you think that's impressive, you need to see what's coming next. AI isn't just a tool. It's going to change the way we all do business. I talk about that in this video right here.